All right, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome, everyone. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Ullum.
Yes.
Odie.
Yep.
Hagelin. Klatt. Schrader.
Yep.
All right, if there are no changes that need to be made to the agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve it as presented tonight.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I don't believe there are any conflict of interest disclosures or waiver requests this evening. No community input. That takes us to our general business section. Under administration reports, we have the Brandon Valley Middle School to give the Read 180 presentation.
Yes, I have two of my teachers here, Cindy Feierheisen and Roxy Gertis, who are the instructors for our Read 180 program. It's our intervention strategies for students who maybe struggle a little bit in the area of reading. So they have put together a PowerPoint, and they are going to discuss basically our Read 180 program here at the middle school. So I'm going to turn it over to these two, and feel free to ask them any questions. They've been nervous all day. They're more worried about this than their test, I think.
Kind of, yeah. I'm Cindy Feierheisen. We are here to talk about Read 180. It's a program that we've had in 7th grade for 3 years now. In 8th grade, we've had it for 2. And I think we've seen a lot of success with the program. I know it's expensive, but we've seen a lot of improvement for our struggling readers as well as our ELL students. And we're going to share a little bit about the program so you kind of have an idea of what it is and some of the data that we are able to access. When we have the class, we have 90 minutes with our students, and we have a structure like what you're seeing up here. About 10 minutes are spent on whole group instruction where we teach a specific skill or we read a passage or we're doing some pre-reading activities, and then we get into 20-minute rotations where we are in smaller groups. There are 3 different groups that you have. One of the groups is independent reading. The kids choose a book that's at their particular reading level, and they have 20 minutes to read. There are activities that they do associated with the book. They do a reading log, that kind of thing, and then there's times where they will test over what they've read. They also have a small group rotation where we work with a smaller number of kids and work specifically on skills that they need improvement on. For some of them, it's context clues. For others, it's prefixes, suffixes, cause and effect, different skills that each group specifically needs. So it's pretty differentiated for each group. And then the other rotation is software. And software is really where we get a ton of data about how the kids are doing. And then we'll wrap it up with whole group again, just kind of recapping what's happened. So if you, at the next screen, this is the screen that the kids see when they log into software. The big red button, it says My Software, that's the Read 180 program. And in Read 180, they have reading, fluency, spelling, vocabulary, all of these different skills, and it's all at their level. So that's really cool, and they can see success at their level, and they continue to grow and improve with that. The middle section, e-reads, books that are online. We don't use that as much. I don't know if you guys use it more.
More for the nonfiction. If we have something that, you know, science related, social studies related, they're doing a lot of history in 8th grade. So if you find something in there, they do occasionally go into that.
Not as much for 7th grade anyway. And the last section is the assessment section. The blue button is what we use to identify their Lexile levels, what their reading level is, and what level books they should be getting. The white button is for when they're reading their independent novels, and when they are done, they take a quiz over them, primarily comprehension.
A lot like the AR.
Yeah.
10-question quiz.
And the last button, the black button, is our skills, and that is for testing over the workshops, the units that we've done. So what's really nice about this is all of that assessment gives us a ton of data. The next screen is the Lexile levels. There are 4 levels in Read 180. Level 1 is the lowest level, and level 4 is the highest. In 7th grade, you can see the first column, they have grade levels. So if you see 7th grade and then you see the second column says at risk, our goal is to move students toward proficient and hopefully advanced. But we see students a lot at the at-risk level. And each year it gets harder for them to move up and to improve. But it is having 2 consecutive years of Read 180 for some of these kids makes a big difference. So you can see the numbers. If we look at the next screen, you see some data that we've been able to compile. So this is our Lexile level. We take the SRI test, which figures out for us what their reading level is. So you can see at the beginning of the year, in August is the first time we take it. So I have students that are reading at a 416 Lexile level, and 416 puts you at, where is it? It's like a low 5th grade, low 4th grade at risk. So you can see some of the levels that our kids are at are really low. And then there are some that are at a 738 and 849. They're a little bit higher. So there's a pretty wide range. The last time my group took the SRI test was in March, and you can see in that column how the numbers have changed. Some of my kids have gone up 278 points. There's one, I think, that went up 400 points, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 403 points. So there's some pretty incredible growth. Expected growth is 75 to 100 points, approximately. The higher your Lexile, the more difficult it is to get a higher Lexile. The lower you have more growth. So you can see the actual growth from some of my kids. The green means they've all either attained their goal or they've surpassed it. The yellow means not quite. For example, one of the yellows, they're at a 36, they grew 36 points. They're supposed to grow 55 to 90 by the end of the year. The ones with the stars are all those that are reading at grade level. So they have 0 more growth to get to grade level. Some of them are only 23 points away from being at grade level. So when you think about the amount of growth, it's pretty incredible. We figured out the data was, for my group, it was 90% of my students, I have 20, 90% of them are now have met or exceeded their growth goals for the year. I have those 2 yellows that we need to push up. But it's been pretty incredible. The next slide just shows you just a better visual. So all the reds were all below basic. Yellows are basic, and then greens are proficient. So there's a bunch of reds that have turned into yellows, which is pretty incredible. They've grown so much. It's makes you proud, actually, of how much they've grown. But yeah, it's a great program. I really feel like it's made a difference for my students. 8th grade, they've got a little more work to do, but we're doing it. If you want to go to the next one, this is the 8th grade data, and you can see there with my kids, I have one student that tested at grade level there. You can see though, in that first column, there's a lot of them there that have grown quite a bit. Some, from 3, I put them in order from top to bottom, or from growth down. So I have, let's see, at the bottom, I have 5 kids there that have not grown expected growth. But when we'll look at the next slide here in a second, and you'll see that it looks a little bit better on that one. But average growth is 129 points in Lexile. So these kids are working hard. I also have 3 ELL kids, so it makes a difference if you haven't been speaking English long. It's gonna. So if you want to go to that next one, you can see there everyone has grown except 2
So, and they, you know, they have pretty good scores. We have a 700 Lexile and an 800 Lexile, so it's not like they're down in the 4th grade level or anything like that. So they're closer to grade level on that. So, and what I tell the kids, you know, they really go by these scores when they take the test, and they're just, you know, they just want to, they know what their Lexile is, and when we take the SRI, we take it 4 times a year, and they are just, you know, working really hard and want to improve that. So you can see we went from a lot of below basic into the basics. So I tell them that's a win. You guys just have to keep going up. So, you know, I know the program costs a lot, and there's, you know, we can look at data forever, but the growth in the kids that you see in the classroom, it's amazing. I have 2 boys that are begging me, they keep begging me to buy more books. They're really into the crossed books. It's, you know, books about basketball written in verse. And if I had told them at the beginning of the year, you know, you're going to be begging me to buy a poetry book, they would have said, yeah, right. So just that is, it's just the growth in the kids in the classroom. It's amazing.
I've got a question. Is there, I would assume also there's a lot of work done in the evening on the students' part, too? And this is just pretty much the classroom type stuff?
Most of what we do is in the classroom, especially for these kids, because
A lot of them don't have a lot of support at home. So, you know, almost all, there's not much homework that goes
No.
home.
pretty rare. They do, sometimes we'll send home something, but we give them a couple days to get it done. So we try to keep it as much in class as we can.
I didn't think that, I mean, I understand why you were nervous, but I thought you did a great job. So I don't think you have anything to be nervous about. But thank you for your explanation, because I was puzzled at the graph pages of this PowerPoint. I didn't know how to interpret that, and I didn't know who was doing our presentation, so I didn't know who to call and ask. So thank you for explaining that, and I love the color coding. It makes it easy.
There's so much great data in this, it makes it easy on us.
I just also wanted to say thank you. I think this is really exciting to see this data, and I'm really glad the board has supported this sort of an expenditure, even if it is expensive, because for these kids, they're getting ready to go to high school, and this is going to make a huge difference for them. And it will be interesting to see in a few years when our kids have come up through the Walk to Read program, because none of these kids have had the chance to be in that complete Walk to Read program. Some of them have come, from what I understand, outside the district. Some have come up through our own ranks, if you will, but it's exciting to see all the things at all the different places in the district that are in place to help these students, whatever they might need. So thank you for all the work you do for them.
I just want to add one thing that I forgot to mention first is, first of all, these classes are team taught. So we have another teacher, special education teacher, in their classrooms with them. So that's how we can break it down into small groups and individual, reading stations and things like that. So each one of these teachers has a special education teacher with them. So I stop in these classrooms on a regular basis, and I think the greatest joy that I get out of going into those classrooms is the excitement they have for reading and the confidence they've built. And that you can't put a number on that. And you just walk in that classroom and they're excited to read, and they have so much more confidence. And I think that's the real crucial thing. So it's always fun for me to stop in there, because they always want to tell me how many words they've read and all this kind of stuff. But it's great, because it's a great accomplishment for them. And it's always refreshing for me to walk in there and see that. So I thank you as the board for doing this. I think it's an intervention that is really going to benefit our kids in the future. So thank you.
I did remember I had a quick question. You mentioned vocabulary on one of the slides. Do the students still at the middle school level do that kind of blue-colored vocabulary book? No? Oh, okay.
I've got one question. The 7th graders that will become 8th graders, do they automatically fall into your program in the fall of next year, or do you analyze them?
Some do. They take the SRI at the end. I think this year we had 3 kids that took it in 7th grade, 2 or I think it's 3, and then didn't come to my class. But then we had at least 2 kids that were in the collections book last year and struggled quite a bit. So they came to me for Read 180 for 8th grade. So we move it around and make sure that, everyone that's there, if you're capable of and ready for going into the collection series, that you need to go in there. And if you're struggling, we're here to help them. So.
You're right, we do move kids up and down basically, and I appreciate their flexibility on that. If we recognize a student needs to be challenged at a higher level, we will switch their schedules and challenge them in English 8 or whatever. If we also see a student who's struggling and we think this program would benefit them, obviously we contact parents and say we think this program would benefit them. So it's a flexible schedule type thing where we will move kids up or down based on their individual needs. So when a student reaches a certain level and we believe that they need to be challenged at another level, we simply move them up and do that. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us tonight. It's nice to hear that. Next, Superintendent's report. Superintendent Larson.
Yes, Madam Chair. Real quick, just want to provide you with an update on our middle school entrance remodel construction project. The construction zone is, the safety fences have been put up. The middle school students were spoken with regarding the construction zone, staying out of the orange fence area, et cetera. And then we also communicated to our patrons via the newspaper regarding construction zone safety. Beckenhofer has mobilized. The site is up, and they are working on foundation work. Was over there just this afternoon, and the front foundation for what will be the music room, the additional music room, has all been poured, and they're getting set to backfill on that. And then the footings on the backside for the smart lab have been poured as well. So moving along quite well. I want to provide just a quick update on the print shop strategy evaluation. We are currently evaluating, researching, gathering feedback. May 8th at our next board meeting, we will have an informational presentation providing data, findings, and then there will be no action sought on May 8th, but then later in May or potentially June, there could be action depending on the findings through that evaluation process. Just want to continue to remind folks that we have a staff recognition banquet on Tuesday, May 2nd at 2017 at 6 p.m. I look forward to recognizing our retirements, years of service, and the Brandon Valley School District Teacher of the Year. And then a couple other items I want to note. I want to send a special thank you to the Brandon Community Foundation and the Brandon Community Foundation President, Jay Rasmussen. Later in the agenda under consent item, you will note a variety of grants that are being approved. We greatly appreciate the Brandon Community Foundation and their support of the school and our programs. Greatly appreciate everything they do for us and all those individuals and businesses that make those opportunities possible. Just a quick update on the Smarter Balance testing, which is our state assessment. It's in progress, and the reports that we're getting out of our buildings is that the student effort has been outstanding. So extremely proud of the effort that our kids are putting in, the focus and attention they're paying to that, doing a great job. Let them keep up that great work over the course of the next week or so as we finalize our Smarter Balance testing. And then just want to provide you with an update on the strategic planning process and where we're at. There will be a survey distributed in the coming weeks to get that. That's an initial step in the strategic planning process. And then I would ask you to consider, as a Board of Education, as individual board members, consider what is our vision of a Brandon Valley graduate. So I'd ask you to take that homework, take that task with you tonight, and then later in June we will we'll come back and we'll discuss that. You can utilize words if you want to, or you could write sentences, but I'd ask you to consider what you see the vision of a Brandon Valley graduate being. So a Brandon Valley graduate is, and that's again an important part through our strategic planning process. And then lastly, just want to make certain everyone is aware, Sunday, May 21st, graduating class of 2017, Brandon Valley High School. So that is all I have to report on tonight, and would certainly entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions for Superintendent Larson? If not, we will continue. Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson. No board policy tonight. That takes us to general business. Our first item, number 1. Superintendent Larson, would you like to walk us through this, please?
Sure. So, Madam Chair, what we have is we have an agreement between behavior care specialists and the Brandon Valley School District for one special education student at the rate of $6,120 per month for ultimately the summer. If you would recall, President Ullum previously filed a waiver regarding conflict of interest with behavior care specialists as she serves as a part-time school nurse for that organization. So at this point in time, I would recommend approving the agreement between behavior care specialists and the Brandon Valley School District with a roll call vote with President Ullum abstaining. So I would recommend entertaining such a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Hagelin. Schrader.
Yes.
Bodie.
Yes.
Klatt. Ullem.
Abstain. Okay, thank you very much. That takes us to number 2. And Superintendent Larson, I would again ask you to lead us through that one.
Sure. Madam Chair, so on March 30th, the Personnel Committee met, prepared for negotiations. On April 12th, the Personnel Welfare Committee met with BVA negotiators and engaged in negotiations. At that time, there was a tentative agreement on the board proposal. On April 20th, the Brandon Valley Education Association voted to approve the proposal with 0 no votes. So today, the proposal is before the Board of Education, and I would turn it over to our Personnel Welfare Committee Chair, Member Hegland.
Thank you. Well, one of the things I always do when we do our negotiations is I get a chance to thank the representatives of the association and ask them to pass our thanks on to all the teachers and the staff who work with our students and make such a difference for all of them. It really is, it's our teachers who make the difference for this district and make this district what it is. So we're always so appreciative of the opportunity to sit down with them and tell them thank you, and we want to do that again tonight publicly. And we were very appreciative for the work of the business office, Mr. Lundberg and his staff, that allowed us to offer a 2% increase to our teaching staff, even though we received just 0.3% from the state in state aid in an increase. And a combination of being a growing district, which is a good thing for us and our students, a good year for health insurance costs, and also the excellent fiscal management that allows us to, as a board, do some structured and planned deficit spending to continue to try to support growth in teacher salaries, because we really believe that is a really important thing to do for this district. And all districts in the state really need to be able to continue to grow teacher salaries to have a strong education system into the future. So we're very appreciative that we were able to put this together. Thank you, Mr. Lundberg. Thank you for all that you do to make that possible. And we were very appreciative that the association approved it with a unanimous acceptance of that offer.
Any questions for Mrs. Hegland, or Mr. Schrader, who are on the committee, or Superintendent Larson? If not, I would entertain a motion to ratify the 2017-18 master agreement between the Brandon Valley School District and the Brandon Valley Education Association.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to our next item, to approve the wage recommendation for classified staff for the 2017-2018 school year.
Yes, Madam Chair, again, it is our administrative recommendation for classified staff to receive a 2% salary increase. You would note in the attached document that the listed rate is the proposed rate, and the wage increase is in parentheses. Certainly entertain any questions that you guys have.
Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the wage recommendation for classified staff for the 2017-2018 school year as recommended.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And number 4, to approve the salary recommendation for administration for the 2017-2018 school year.
Madam Chair, my administrative salary recommendation for the 17-18 school year is a 2% increase in salary, and then in addition, I would recommend continuing the past practice of a $1,200 salary enhancement paid in November and 2 additional paid in-service days. These 2 additional days are paid at the administrator's daily rate of pay, and then here you would ultimately find a spreadsheet outlining what that looks like. The 16-17 salary of each respective administrator is noted. The 2% increase is noted. Then you see the 17-18 salary, what the salary enhancement looks like, the 2 additional days, and then ultimately the total salary. That one item that I would note is that your 12-month administrators ultimately are not eligible for the additional days, the 2 additional days, as they are 12-month employees.
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Larson? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the salary recommendations for administration for the 2017-2018 school year.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have 8 items under consent approval. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented tonight.
Move to approve the items under consent approval under general business.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have personnel. 6 items under consent approval there. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you again. There are 5 items there under information only with some transfers and maternity leaves. And that takes us then to board formal reports. Does anyone have a formal report for, that they would like to share tonight at all? Okay, just with alternative ed, with Teach Well, we have done some salary and wage pieces with them, so that has been completed, and also completed the contract with McCrossin, so I thought I would let you know those. And that is all I have. Hearing no more, that there is a couple travel reports there for you to review. And with that, that takes us to the end of our scheduled topics, and I would entertain a motion to go into executive session under Codified Law 1-25-24 for the 2017-2018 superintendent contract negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will now enter executive session. Okay, so what time is it? 7:56? Does that sound right? We can come out of executive session. At this time, I would entertain a motion for the superintendent contract 2017-2018 contract proposal to be a 2% salary increase of $3,040 for a total of $155,040.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. At this time, that takes us to the end of our meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.